Welcome to Mind Prosperity, where we believe that where your mind goes, your life follows, or where your thoughts go, your life follows. And today we're going to look at taking control of bad thoughts. Taking control of bad thoughts. Now, when it comes to thoughts, we have to understand that our thinking influences the way we are feeling. The way you think influences the way you feel. And I think in human beings normally and generally want to feel good, right? But this is something we have to understand. There's nothing like a good emotion or a bad emotion. And I think this is where people, think in a way that is not accurate. They think that, if I feel good, that's necessarily always good. Or if I feel bad, that's necessarily always bad. Let me use an example. A lot of people can make bad decisions because they are very happy. Just in that moment, they feel very happy. They buy something they shouldn't buy or that they cannot afford. Or a lot of time people are so much in love that they just make bad decisions because they are so much in love. Or, if a person says you're never allowed to fear, well, fear protects you in certain circumstances. Say, for instance, if there's a snake on your bed or if there's a bear in your background, fear in that moment protects you. So, we cannot just identify every single emotion as either, good or bad, positive or negative. We identify them as it feels good or it feels bad. So what we have to understand, our thinking creates our feeling, and our thinking and feeling creates our state of being. So this is how we take control of bad thoughts. We look at our emotions. How do I feel? It's a term called meta mood. How do I feel? And what is my feeling telling me? Now, in the brain, there's a part called the amygdala, and the amygdala has to do with feeling. And right around, or very close to the amygdala, there's a part called the hippocampus. And the hippocampus has to do with remembering. So the amygdala feels, the hippocampus remembers. Now, a lot of times when we feel an emotion that doesn't feel good, normally it can be connected to an event that was either traumatic or that felt bad. And now our mind thinks in that direction. So taking control of bad thoughts is feeling the emotion and not necessarily seeing it or identifying it or evaluating it as negative, but asking yourself the question, how can I bring my mind into the situation and ask myself, what am I thinking about it? A term called metacognition, which means think about your thinking. So now we feel a certain emotion and we say, why do I feel this emotion? Is this emotion true? Now, every single emotion can be valid because that's what you feel. But every single emotion is not true. Now, if every single emotion is not true, that means every single thought is not true. So I've just recently listened to somebody speak about the brain, and they said 80% of our thoughts are not true. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's true for every single person, but what I can say that is true for every single person is a lot of our thoughts are not true. And if a lot of our thoughts are not true, we have to sit down, evaluate our thoughts, and ask ourselves the question, but what is true? Because a false belief system and faulty thoughts will get us to a place to have a certain emotional reaction, and that emotional reaction can cause us to feel bad, and that emotional reaction can be overwhelming, which is not necessarily necessary. But instead of that, we can take a step back, which is the slogan of Mind Prosperity. We can take a step back, evaluate our emotions, and say, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And is this the way that I want to feel? And then look at our thinking. What am I thinking? Do I want to think this? How do I want to change my thinking? And then finally, you get a term called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity says you can rewire your thinking or you can rewire your brain, especially in the hippocampus. Remember, the hippocampus is the part that remembers. So when you feel a bad emotion, and even if you have a bad thought, just take a step back and evaluate it. And know that through meditation, a neuroscientist, Dr. Joe Dispenza, says meditation means to become familiar with. Through thinking, through meditation, we can rewire the programming of our brain and identify and say, listen, this is a faulty thought which causes an emotion that doesn't feel good. I'm going to think a different way, which is going to cause me to feel a different way, which is going to change my state of being. So this is what we do. You just take a step back, you evaluate it. Is it true? Is this what really happened? Is it trauma? How can I rewire it? How can I reprogram it? And this is how we deal with bad thoughts. Thank you so much for watching.